Thank you. First of all, besides being welcome, thank you for coming. I wanted to thank our sponsors for this year's conference, specifically Multicare and Puget Sound Energy. I know we couldn't do this without neighborhood support, as well as companies and people to help us do this great work. I'd like to go ahead and do a land acknowledgement right now. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Puyallup tribe. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time and continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step towards true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land and beyond. Thank you. So just like I said, it's being recorded, so you feel free to have your camera off. Also, we'll be holding a raffle at the end, but you have to be present to win. So stay tuned. You have a good couple of prizes. And then the chat is enabled. So please, if you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the chat, and Dami will be able to monitor the chat. So I would like to also introduce the Safe Street staff. It worked so hard to put this on. We have Roxanne Simon, and we have Alberto Rodriguez, and we have Dami Watkins. Yes, okay. And Eric Hosted will be joining us later on in the sessions. I think week 4. Even though he no longer works at Safe Streets, his presence is still very, very much felt and known. So, and of course, we have our executive director, Priscilla Lisicich. Thank you. Oh yes, and we have our newest member of the team, Alyssa Larson. So, yay! Anyway, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our presenters. Right now, we have Sue Hart. Oh, I got to get my cheat sheet. Okay, sorry. Here we go. Sue Hart is the founder of Building Beyond the Walls. And so we're going to learn more about Building Beyond the Walls, unique program that works to build community using their free construction training as a conduit that engages, educates, and empowers its participants. So I would like to go ahead and turn it over to Sue. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that, oops, sure, maybe I'm not. Sorry, Sue.
No problem.
Big one, let me go ahead and do, okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen now, and then I'm going to have to turn it on to, there we go.
Are you ready for me to start?
I am ready for you to start.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. I'm so honored that you feel like, or that you want to learn more about Building Beyond the Walls. Safe Streets has been just a wonderful partner for us in this last year, especially. And so we are excited about the programs that we have to offer and what's coming up. So if you want to do the next screen.
Oh, hold on. I lost something.
Well, I can tell you that Building Beyond the Walls creates an experience through inclusive hands-on and construction skills training that increases confidence and self-reliance. By focusing on projects that give back, we connect individuals more deeply in their community. And my personal story, so you can still change it whenever you figure that out, Wanda.
I'm really struggling. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to figure out how to get from.
Wanda, just click the screen. Click on the screen.
I am. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry.
Okay. No,
can everybody see it? Okay. All right.
Yeah. So so I created Building Beyond the Walls after an auto accident and I really saw that there was a real need for people to become connected. And volunteering actually helped save my life. It helped me build a life after I lost everything. So I wanted to be able to give that opportunity, the value of volunteering to others. So if you want to go next, Building Beyond the Walls, our program design, one of the key elements of our program is to engage people. So we connect people to each other. We are, by design, our programs do this, and we connect participants to the community. You're going to learn more specifically how we do that in our flagship class here in a few minutes. But what I'm finding is now more than ever, we need to rebuild our community. And I've been reading a really good book called What Happened to You. And one of the things that they strongly talk about is the importance of community and connection to other people. And they say actually there's a direct relationship between a person's degree of social isolation and their risk for physical and mental health. So now with everything that's happened with the pandemic and isolation, we know we've got to find ways to connect others. So next. And we empower people. You're going to see, you'll see Gerard's picture there. He's the amputee that went through our program. We're going to watch a video of his story at the end of this presentation. But when you empower people, you build self-reliance, you build confidence. And it's amazing just by learning, holding a screw gun and learning how to cut a piece of wood to be able to use a power saw. I have a gal who was a cancer survivor who went through our program, and first time she'd ever used a power saw, and she wanted to make sure I got it on video and I shared it because she was so proud of that moment. Next. And educate. So we educate participants the importance of community and the value of volunteering. Now, the value of volunteering goes, it's a very hard thing to quantitate. So one, because it has to do so much with emotion and that, but we do know that we can add a dollar figure to the value of volunteering based on the 2020 independent sector. Washington State hourly $33.75 per hour is what a volunteer is valued at. We also will teach basic skills. In construction, we teach universal design. Does anybody know what universal design is? I guess I can't really see hands or anything. But universal design is teaching people, and it relates really to construction, but we also talk a little bit about other kinds of universal design, but it's making everything accessible. For example, if you probably have seen somewhere where there's stairs, or you have kind of a ramp, a grade where people could use a wheelchair. And there's one of my favorite comics that I like to share about that concept is that where everything's covered with snow, and the guy's trying to clear off the steps, and somebody looks at him and says, well, if you clean off the ramp, everybody can get up there, whether they're in a wheelchair or not. So it's just really educating the difference on universal design. We talk a lot about safety. And then sustainable practices. So how they used to be able to build a house and only have a wheelbarrow of lumber left over. And with the prices of lumber, you're probably going to see more of that come back. So next slide. So our main programs, we have our flagship construction training, our Pantry Project, We have a Building Kids program, special events for Rampathon, which if any of you follow our Facebook page, you will see we just finished up a Rampathon where we put on our biggest ramp yet, which was a 42-foot ramp for an 8-year-old boy who at the age of 2 had a non-fatal drowning. And so it was such an honor to be able to help that single mom with her 3 boys and the difference that that ramp is going to make. And then we offer specialty classes. So next, our flagship construction training is really our core training. People, they learn the basic skills of construction. So you'll learn how to plumb, plumb level, and you'll learn how to, well, we'll talk more on that in the next slide, but the sustainable practices, again, universal design, the value of volunteering. You'll learn that, the classes are really process driven, not project driven. They're inclusive. People with special needs are encouraged to participate, and they're free. So the way we offer it free is that we require them to give 50 hours back to the community. So when you have an average class of 15 participants who give over 50 hours back to the community, it contributes a monetary value of over $25,000. So next. In the class, they're going to learn safety, framing, roofing, sheetrock, mud and taping, electrical, siding, insulation, universal design, and of course the value of volunteering. So next. Oh, go back one. I'll tell you in our flagship class, there are usually 7 Saturdays, and in that Saturdays, we actually have local nonprofits or organizations come out and provide lunch for our during our classes. They talk to the students about what it is that they do in the community and how they can get involved with that particular organization. And during the class, we actually will build a small structure for a nonprofit or organization in need. So we built one for ECAP, which is the Early Childhood Education Program. And probably our most famous shed that we built was for the Soup Ladies, if any of you are familiar with who the Soup Ladies are. And that is another way that we really help share how important volunteering is. Anybody who runs a nonprofit really knows, or even any business, the value of having that help in a volunteer. I had a Microsoft employee who went through our program, and he said that he did not realize how insular his white collar job was. So I asked him what he was going to do with that information. And he said, well, we're going to volunteer a lot more. He says, we've got young kids, but there are things we can do. He said, I had no idea how important it was and how much it helped the community. Okay, now next, thanks. So the Pantry Project, it was born out of the pandemic. We saw a huge need for people wanting to do something, wanting to help in some way. And so the Pantry Box is a national movement. And I came up with the idea that we could build these pantry kits. So sort of like an IKEA, but not quite, design where we had them all cut out, painted, and pre-drilled, everything included, and anybody, any organization, any individual who wanted one could apply, and we would give these kits to them. The kits are valued at almost $500, and they are free to individuals when we fund it through grants and individual sponsorships. This is how I got more connected with Roxanne, because she took one of the pantry kits, and you'll see it out at Lake Bay, and she's actually been instrumental in helping us get, I think it's almost 10 between the Anderson and pantries and the 5 from the Gig Harbor Rotary. And so this is a way that we could stay true to our mission. Remember, where we're trying to empower other people. We had one gal who took a kit, never done anything like this before, and she did it all by herself, but with a little bit of help from her boyfriend, who held the pieces together because they're heavy. And she was just so empowered by that and elated. So we also have our own Facebook now for our Pantry Project people, so that they have a way to connect and tell their stories and help each other out with resources and food. We've partnered with the local food banks. The one here in Bonnie Lake actually has small teams that go out and service the pantries. They'll clean them up if they, got dirt in their windows or anything like that, and then keep them stocked. So it's not just a sole responsibility of the host. And not all of our pantry hosts take advantage of that. Some of them like to do it, or they have a community that likes to keep it filled. Okay. So next. And you can see we've built 41 kits, and we've had, between other organizations, I think we have almost 60 out in the community right now, or about to go out into the community. Let's see, the top left is Summers, and she's out in Prairie Ridge. And one of the things you can see, she's added her own little bench there, and the kids, it's real popular. There's a bus stop there, so they've got a lot of different kinds of food in there for that is utilized for that particular area. You'll see Roxanne is top center, and her pantry out in Lake Bay, and the crew that put them out there. The one on the top right is Monica Gobb. She was the first one besides our pilot one that went up, and she's customized hers a little bit to have a little library section in it. And now they've actually put out some like log benches, and she puts baskets underneath she's a great gardener, and so she puts fresh produce out there. The bottom left is the Milton. They're our first dueling pantries is what I call them, and they were part of the food for free, and this allowed them to get the food out of the weather. Center bottom is the Sumner Library, and then the bottom right is for the Wilkinson Garden, which was actually part of Rural Development Institute, which was a great program that we participated in, or I participated in, and several of our volunteers also. And it was a great experience if you ever have a chance to go through that program. Next. I see there's a question, and I'll get to that. So I will put in the chat my my information, my contact information. There are applications still available, and so you just go on our website and apply. Does anybody have any questions? I have about a minute and a half left.
I think
Go
you
ahead.
answered Stephanie's question with the wanting to apply for one.
Right.
Mhm.
Judy
And I
has her
see-
hand up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, hi, Sue.
Who does? Judy. Hi, Judy.
Hi. I'm wondering, actually, and maybe you covered this, but the geographic area that you work in?
Well, we actually just have our new training center in Buckley, but
Okay.
the pantries and the whole area, I originally started up in Snohomish County, and so we have pantries up in King County,
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, in South Carolina and a couple in Colorado. So
Very
we're
cool.
getting around.
Yeah,
People are
great.
at
Thank you.
every video conferencing session.
Anyone else have any questions? Yeah, this is actually my first presentation on a screen like this, so I was a little awkward. I hope it was okay.
I apologize for my lack of technological expertise as well.
Well, during
So
this
I'm so
pandemic,
sorry.
if we haven't learned patience, that's the most important thing.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yeah, your contact info, you're going to go ahead and put that in the chat?
I will.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sue,
Any,
you are amazing.
yes, you were. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys are very generous. I
No, I
think you
don't-
guys are amazing.
I didn't realize how many different things you guys actually do, honestly. So until I met you and read the brochure. So I think it's really interesting for people to know.
And how we can build that community and connect people.
Yep. Okay, any last minute burning questions? Okay. Oh, Judy, you still have your hand up. Do you have another question? Want to
Nope.
make sure.
Put my hand down.
okay.
Thank you.
Sure. I just want to make sure I don't overlook you. Okay, so thank you so much, Sue. Really great. Our next presenter is David Thompson. He's the director of Foods Free Tacoma. And he's going to discuss urban agriculture and how the 20% initiative can help stabilize the food supply chain. So, David, thank you so much for joining us, and feel free to take it away.
Thank you very much. Well, let's see. All right. Building community through food security. What we found is I started Food is Free about 7 years ago here in Tacoma. The idea was just a small little garden in the front of my house, and to inspire the neighbors to grow their own food. And I put a little table up out in front, and I started giving my food away. And it's grown from there to we're now a full 501c3 nonprofit organization now with IRS designation. So we've grown quite a bit. What we've learned a lot through this pandemic, especially, was that food security became very important. We saw a big drop in a big rise of food insecurity during the pandemic, to the point where we were having 200 to 300 cars a night at our food giveaways at my house. We just started out in front of my house, and I would get a truck full of produce boxes, and we'd start giving them away, and it'd run for hours all night. People just coming by the thousands to come get food. It was quite humbling, and it was really something to see. That was really big in November and December. By the end of the season, we'd given away 1,000 tons, which would be 2 million pounds, that we'd given away just pretty much in front of the house or out there at the local church that we've been using. But what we found during the thing is what happened to a lot of the food security that we had was big supply chain disruptions. And that's what we're seeing now, is that the supply chain is very fragile and it's breaking all the time. We're seeing empty shelves. There's big food shortages that are on their way. We've seen it already happening now, and it's going to continue to happen more. As the holiday seasons come in, all the retailers are saying that they don't have any product right now on the shelves. So there's a big supply chain disruptions that are happening, and we've seen it all happen during the pandemic. So what we want to do is the 20% initiative. We're asking that people bring back 20% of the fresh fruit and produce that they grow there in our city that'll be locally grown. That way we don't have a supply chain disruption. We could survive any type of disruptions. We'll have 20% of our fresh fruits and vegetables can be right here in our city. We can make this all local. Well, the reason I drew 20% was that in 1944, the Victory Garden movement was at its highest point. They produced 8 million tons of fresh fruits and vegetables that year. It was estimated. That was at 32 million gardens. If you think about it, our population has increased by 200% since then. So that 8 million tons could be considerably more if we had Victory Gardens again. What we want to do is to bring that 20% initiative about is to put food independence gardens in. Instead of calling them Victory Gardens, we're calling them food independence gardens, or FIGs for short. What we want to do is bring back home gardening. People to grow food right there in their front yards, right in the parkways, get it out into the front where the neighbors can see it, and engage with your neighbors. Nothing brings neighbors together more than gardening. People love to come out and to look and see what you're growing and watch the plants grow, and it inspires conversations. If you inspire conversations between neighbors get to know
My
each other.
screen froze. I can't do it.
Excuse me?
Won't work.
Okay. So what we're finding is to keep building the food independence gardens. So we're starting to build those now as we see them start to go on. What brings us to front yard gardens. What we'd like to see is people to build a garden. Why not build it in your front yard? Instead of having all that grass in the front, why not build a little front yard garden? Give your food away to your neighbors, or give part of it away to your neighbors. Keep part of it for yourself, and get to engage your neighbors. Let them see you growing it. If they see you growing food, they'll want to do it themselves. That's how we can bring this 20% initiative about, and we could truly bring home produce gardens to our local city. The other place you could do is parkways. Now, I'm sure you've seen my parkway gardens. There's a couple of them here. We build these right in the parkway, the place between the sidewalk and the street. This is public property, so you can plant them out there as long as you follow code. You can build these things in the parkway there. Water them, share your produce with your neighbors. Let them see it grow. Let them come and enjoy what a fresh homegrown tomato tastes like, or what a new pumpkin looks like, or what it's like to have a kohlrabi. They probably don't even know what a kohlrabi is. And introduce them to gardening. That's a lot of what we've been trying to do. What we're doing now is it's called Atomized Farming. Now, what we're doing is we're building small little parkway gardens. I'm in the process of building 30 of those around town. Each one will have its own little monocrop in it, which that could be tomatoes, it could be lettuce in one, it could be cabbage in one. But we'll have 60 of those around the city growing different crops. We're going to call it Atomized Farming. So it'll be like having a large garden, but it'll be spread out all over the city with different caretakers. Each one of these gardens is watered and tended by the homeowner itself. So we'll be able to grow all this food with as little possible as few people as possible. Now, these are called AARP sponsored fig gardens. AARP gave us a grant this year to build 20 of these gardens, 20 of these garden sites with 2 garden beds in each one. These are for 50 and older adults. They have to be on public property, which makes them in the parkway. Because they're 4 feet by 12 feet long, the parkway has to be a minimum of 8 feet wide and 32 feet long. If you're that and you're over 50, we'd love to talk to you. Sponsor one of these fig gardens. We'll do atomized farming right here in your front yard. All you got to do is just water it. And what we'll do is we'll give all this food away. 30% will go to the homeowner, and the 70% will go back to our community. We'll give it away at what we have, what is known as our Fig Share Days. Our Fig Share Days, you might be familiar with these. We started this year. We started putting fig gardens, our Fig Share Days, which was bringing in all the home gardeners. We partnered up with Fresh Food Connect to connect with local home gardeners that had extra food left, extra garden produce left over. They could sorry, that just threw me off. Yes, home gardeners can sign up and have their produce dropped off to us. There's an app that's called Fresh Food Connect. You go to freshfoodconnect.org and download the app. We are the Tacoma branch here for Fresh Food Connect, so all the donations would go directly to us. We give them away on our Fig Share Days. We're doing that every Sunday. We've been doing that every Sunday all summer long at different parks. We were rotating between People's Park, Jefferson Park, Eastside Community Center, and Wapato Hills Park. We went to each one of those parks and would be there from noon to 3 o'clock every Sunday and gave away all the fresh produce that we collected through the Fresh Food Connect that we grew in our little gardens. And now next year with the Atomized Farming, we're going to really expand on Fig Share Days and probably be the 2 different parks on Sundays. So we'll do 2 different parks every Sunday and possibly one during the week as well. We'll see how much produce we start to get. But I think we can really work towards this 20% initiative by having Fig Share Days and being able to give that produce away. That's what we're doing over here at Food is Free. We're still doing our food rescue as well. So we get food all the time. We have our food rescue site is the Calvary Baptist Church at 6511 South C Street. We have a spot there in their overflow parking lot that we have tables set up in, and when we get food, we'll put it up there and announce it onto our Facebook page, which our Facebook page is Food is Free Tacoma. Yeah, that's what I got. Is there any questions?
Great job. Thank you.
I have a question, David. Is the city of Tacoma requiring you to get any permits?
No, as long as you follow the code. They actually put out a pamphlet that gives you instructions on how to put a sidewalk planter in. The code is that it has to be set 2 feet back from the street and 2 feet from the sidewalk, and there has to be a 3-foot pathway in between. And they can't be more than 2 feet high.
That's great. I'd love to talk more about partnering. I know we've met before, but I think there's some great ways we can complement what you're doing.
Sure, that'd be wonderful.
So would you put your contact information in the chat?
Yes, absolutely, I will.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Roxanne, would you like to take over? It looks like Wanda's involved in something. So would you like to take over at this point? And
Oh, here we go.
whoever's next?
There's my contact information.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, good. That's perfect.
We are trying to figure that out. Her screen is frozen. We don't know if it's because, I believe it's because David is sharing his screen that she's frozen. So
Okay, I'll stop sharing now.
yeah, you're the host, but once everybody gets your information, then we'll be able to do that. With you being the host, she can't do anything. Sorry.
I got you. Okay, I'll stop sharing right now.
Okay, thank you. If you could also put it in the chat, David, then everybody can get it that way as well. And we have everybody's name. We can email out that information as well.
While they're navigating that, I had a quick question, David, as well. I was wondering, do you have any printable promotional material, for lack of a better word, that would help explain to someone how they would like apply and get support for this project? Because I would love to share that with the new residents that move into our neighborhood. We have kind of like a welcome packet that we put together with different information. And I was thinking that might be a nice thing to include.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Fabulous. I will email you.
great.
David, I also had just a point of clarification. I know you said you would come out and help build a bed for the atomized farming that you're thinking about, but for one of the fig gardens, do you also help with that?
Yes, we come out, we build it.
Okay.
We tend it, we'll plant it, we have the plans for it, so we'll grow the one crop, and then we'll rotate a different crop into it later in the season. All the homeowner has to do is just water it.
Okay.
We'll take care of everything else.
Very cool.
We had another question in the chat. Someone was asking if it was possible to obtain a shareable version of these slides or a pamphlet. Can you make your information accessible to or outside of this?
Yes, I do have printable pamphlets.
Next for presenting is Alberto and myself. And we will be talking about neighborhood improvement projects. Alberto, I will bring up the slides if you would like to start, please.
Sure thing. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you again for joining us tonight for our opening night of the conference. My colleague Roxanne and I just wanted to talk a little bit about neighborhood improvement projects and how you can get involved in those in your own neighborhood if you aren't already connected with the Safe Streets group. One way to get involved in neighborhood improvement projects is to get in touch with Safe Streets. We not only have ways for you to get connected to other people and other projects that might be going on in your neighborhood, but we also have supplies that we can hand out to community members, such as yourself, including litter grabbers and garbage bags and buckets to help with cleanups for any kind of garbage, or if there's, for example, if there's like a route that you walk every day and you notice that there's been an uptick in litter there and you just want to do your part and help out your community, you can get in touch with us just to get some supplies. We're happy to get that, to arrange for you to get that. And we also, through our Waste Wizards program, we have beauty bark, soil, and gardening tools for community gardening projects. If you are interested in getting any of these, just reach out to any Safe Streets mobilizer or any Safe Streets staff, and we can get you connected so that you can get that supplies. All right, so as far as doing maybe a little bit more involved cleanups or cleanups that have that require heavier lifting, maybe there are bulkier items such as shopping carts or old discarded trash that you can't really pick up on your own and realistically carry around. Maybe you just want to get to know your neighbors and you're thinking about organizing a cleanup as a way to meet new people that have moved in your neighborhood. So there are some ways that you can get not only some extra help with supplies, but some help in picking up and disposing of that waste. So if you're living in the city of Tacoma, there are a couple of ways to do this. One would be to do to have an adopt-a-spot, and that's where a group will reach out to the city through 311 and request to join the adopt-a-spot program. And what that entails is that in exchange for the city providing materials for cleanups and scheduled pickups of any garbage, the city, your group just needs to register to request those from the city and agree to pick up any litter and to try to maintain the area where you got the adopt-a-spot sign. Another option is a neighborhood litter patrol, and this might be a better option for if you're maybe not part of a group that meets for cleanups regularly, but there are some larger, bulkier items that you've seen in your neighborhood that you want to get together with your neighbors and maybe gather those up so that the city can dispose of those, you would put in a request through 311 for a program called the Neighborhood Litter Patrol, where the city would then provide authorized City of Tacoma bags that you would then fill and put in just a designated spot that would be easy for someone else to come and find. When I've done this in the past, I'd like to go on Google Maps even and get a map and draw a little X or a circle of where I've put where we've collected all of the trash, just so we can get that information over through 311 to the city so that they can come and schedule a pickup for that as well. So those are two ways if you're maybe wanting to get involved in cleaning up your neighborhood, but maybe you have bigger things that, or maybe the mess is a little bit, bigger than one person can reasonably handle on their own. And plus, as I mentioned before, getting involved in cleanups is always a great way to meet your neighbors. And it's a fantastic way to show not only your community, but everyone that you love and you really care and appreciate for where you live as well, and for the people that you live around. The other thing that I wanted to touch up on is the graffiti cleanups. The city of Tacoma is doing a program right now where if there is graffiti that is either residential or commercial that's been identified, Safe Streets has been helping them get some, coordinate some cleanups of that graffiti. So if there is, for instance, a wall or something that's been in your neighborhood that's been vandalized, and maybe you've already tried reporting that to 311, but 311 is backed up, do feel free to reach out to any of us at Safe Streets. We can follow up and be in touch to see if we can get that graffiti removed through this new Tidy Up Tacoma program that the city is putting together. So that's just one more thing to be wary of. If you see any graffiti, do make note of where it is. If you can get pictures, that's great. Pictures are always helpful. They're especially helpful when trying to explain to owners, like if there's a owner of a business that's not living in the city, it's useful to show them what's going on in their property to help get that taken care of for them. All right, so now I'm gonna pass it off to my colleague Roxanne to talk about cleanups over in Pierce County outside of the city of Tacoma.
Hi, I'm back. I live on the Key Peninsula and I have limited broadband, and I got kicked out and thought, oh no, am I gonna be back in time? Alberto, please keep talking. So we also at Safe Streets cover all of Pierce County. So I work in unincorporated Pierce County. So the cleanups that we do are a little bit different. I have 3 different cleanups on here. One that we did working with DeMarc Apartments, and they worked with Safeway, which is right next to them. Safeway was having some issues with litter being dumped by different people. So the manager at the DeMarc Apartments talked with the manager at Safeway. We got together and set aside a day to do cleanups. So the one picture shows the before when we first started with it, and then the after pictures. Another area that we've done is Prairie Ridge, where we did a cleanup there. And then on the Key Peninsula, there's a group called Keeping It Clean. This is just one truckload of garbage that they've managed to clean up. Other things that we do in the county that I think that I know is different from the city is in working with public works and code enforcement, where there may be a resident, maybe senior citizen who can't clean up their area. So we've been contacted either by public works or code enforcement to help where we can. So we'll get together volunteers, sometimes even the community liaison deputies will contact us, and we'll go out and work with the individual to get the area cleaned up. Public Works will usually give us voucher to the transfer station. So we'll go out and help get that cleaned up in order to help the individuals stay out of abatement. So these are just some of the things that we do with volunteers and with Safe Street staff. And in one of the areas that we had done, there had been an encampment there. That encampment was cleaned up, but then the resident, the homeowner, was left with having to clean their property. So a Safe Streets group from a different area came along and they brought along their dump trailer, helped us get everything loaded up, and the community liaison deputy came along as well, and he helped haul more of the garbage along. And of course, Public Works gave us the voucher. So these are just some of the different cleanups that we do in Pierce County as opposed to how they do them in the city. And I love doing them. Are there any questions? And we're done with that slide. Thank you, Alberto.
Sure. Thank you, Roxanne. Another type of neighborhood improvement project that we've been helping groups with more and more, especially during the pandemic, has been supply drives. Some of our groups have put together supply drives for things like clothing or food. And I want to give a special shout out to the Stewart Heights group, who is in attendance tonight, for having put together a supply drive for clothing for residents of the tiny house village over on 60th and McKinley. But in putting these together, one question that we've, in some cases, the groups just intuit sort of who's in need, but in other situations, it might be helpful for groups to get together during a meeting and discuss or just brainstorm who is in need in their neighborhood as a starting point. There are several examples of all these supply drives in our past newsletters as well, but the sky really is the limit in terms of what can be accomplished. And we've constantly been surprised by just how, not only how much great donations have been received and given off to people in need, but also what a good way that, or what a good opportunity these events have been to bring neighbors together in a neighborhood. So if there is an overarching theme to what I've been talking about tonight, it's that the hidden benefits of getting involved in your community is that you get to know your neighbors and you get to meet them and make these new connections. And you'll slowly start to see when other issues come up in the future, or when there are other needs in the future, that these connections that you've made will really, really be solidified and will be very helpful. Does anyone have any questions for either me or for my colleague Roxanne about neighborhood improvement projects?
You said that this is, you call 311
Yes.
to adopt a spot. So what other things are available on 311? Is that just for Safe Streets or?
No, 311 is an amazing and surprisingly expansive resource. There's a website that I recommend the website just because I prefer reading rather than going through and listening on the hotline for the options. But both the hotline and the website, or both the 311 line and the website, go to the same place. But the website is called, here, I'll pull it up. It's Tacoma First 311. You have to just make an account for yourself, and I'm trying to see if I can bring up just.
Well, how is that different than 211?
211. 311 is about just getting you connected with specifically with city resources. I'm not familiar with 211.
211 is about connecting you with human resources. It's done through United Way, and which is also another very good source. But if you went on to 211, you wouldn't be able to access some of the city services. Like, my light is out in my neighborhood, I'm reporting that the light is out. So then eventually that information gets to Public Works, and then they come out and repair the light. So it has more to do with infrastructure in the neighborhoods as opposed to human services. If you
Okay.
want to get referrals to mental health services, substance abuse services, you know, people helping you with food, that sort of thing, 211 will get you there. And it's a fantastic resource as well. And I think the thing that is different about 311 versus the county, and Roxanne did kind of emphasize this, that the county does not have a 311 system. What they have is safe streets. We network with them. We help residents to get connected to code enforcement, law enforcement if they need law enforcement resources or other services. The expanding network of groups that are working on mental health services, you know, we're constantly I call it triaging. We're constantly helping people to navigate those systems. So Safe Streets is more your go-to entity in the county. We are a go-to entity in the city, but you also have 311. And for the entire county, you have 211. Does that answer your question, Sue? Yeah. And
Yes,
you know,
very much. Thank you.
yeah, you know, so much of this, I think with Roxanne and Alberto we're talking about is so critical. Doing this day-to-day maintenance and caring and really keeping your neighborhood free of blight and free of nuisances is that first stop in keeping your neighborhood a lot safer. We can't always control all the crime, but I think we can, through the initiatives that they have talked about, bringing people together has just been so critical. And the neighborhood groups that have formed and sustained themselves, some of them for up to 22 or 23 years, have really played an incredible role in keeping the segments of their neighborhood a lot safer, or being able to respond to negative events that might happen in their neighborhood. And then the more we fill the space with positive things like food is free and the pantries and the building projects, the more we claim that space as showing people that we really care. We care deeply about our community. And I know that, as you know, when you work with folks out there in the community, people really want to make things better and they care a lot. And so the program tonight, I think, is a wonderful illustration of all of that. So I appreciate everybody for everything that you have presented tonight. It's just incredible. And the work is a day-to-day dose. It's just a day-to-day, you know, like a mantra. If we're going to do it, we're going to keep it going. And we're going to keep making our community better overall for everybody. And that's the key, that equity is a very important issue to address. So thank you. And Alberto and Roxanne, I kind of jumped in on that, but I know Wanda's screen was frozen and I just felt compelled to say something about how important what you presented is, because it is really critical. Thanks.
And that is the end of our presentation. So everyone has a wonderful night. If you have any questions, just please contact me. Sue, I would like to thank you. Alberto, I'd like to thank you. And David Thompson is already gone. I appreciate everybody. This was wonderful.
Thank you very much for having us.
And
I
Priscilla,
also-
thank you.
And I uploaded both of our flyers, our current flyers, into the chat. So if you send those out, they'll be in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I
you,
will
everyone.
save that.